Mr. Deputy Mayor, we're live.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk, and everyone welcome to the Development Services Committee meeting of May 1st. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First, we'll just take care of a couple of housekeeping matters, so just be sure to silence your cell phones while in chambers. And for members of the public speaking at the podium, and council members, before addressing council, please take time to adjust your microphone so you're speaking clearly and directly into the microphone. The Township of Oro-Medonte acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe people and ancestral territory of the Huron-Wendat. The Anishinaabe include the Ottawa, the Ojibwe, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Nations. Confederacy, excuse me. It continues today as the home for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the historic Métis community in Penetanguishene. The Anishinaabe people continue to have an enduring relationship with this land, specifically the Chippewas of Rama, the Chippewa Tri-Council, and the William Treaties First Nations. The Huron-Wendat Nation also continues to pay respect and protect their ancestors and heritage on this land. We honor the Indigenous history and culture that has thrived for millennia in this territory and the treaties that bind us together as partners in the spirit of a shared, sustainable, and prosperous future. We are all treaty people. Our commitment begins with acknowledging the truth so that we can move forward towards reconciliation. Thank you. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Moved by Greenlaw, seconded by Clark. It is recommended that the agenda for the Development Services Committee meeting of Wednesday, May 1st, 2024 be received and approved.
All in favor? The motion is carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, if you find yourself in that situation later on, please declare. Madam Clerk, may we have a motion to approve the draft minutes of the previous Development Services Committee meeting?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Young. It is recommended that the draft minutes of the Development Services Committee meeting held on Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024 be received and approved as printed and circulated.
Any comments on the agenda? Any corrections or? Nope. Okay, seeing none, may I call a vote? All in favor? That motion is carried. This evening there are no public meetings. They're all public hearings. So there's a full agenda, I think. Before, I'm just going to read an explanation of the process, and a similar statement will be read before each meeting. Each application will be considered separately. Staff will advise of the purpose and effect of the application, provide any relevant information, and note any correspondence that has been received to date, and advise of any statement received from the applicant or if the applicant intends to make a presentation. If so, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make a brief presentation. After the presentation, any members of the public that have been registered to provide comment or who are in the audience will be given the opportunity to speak to the application being considered. The Deputy Clerk will advise of those who have registered, and finally, staff will confirm if any further correspondence has been received during the public hearing. There will be a separate statement to be read at the start of each scheduled public hearing. Thank you. With that, we begin with the first hearing of the evening, application 2024A20. The applicant is Doug Reed of 81 Moonstone Road East. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application submitted by Doug Reed on lands municipally known as 81 Moonstone Road East. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and the requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been any correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division and Building Division, both dated April 18, 2024.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Brent Spagnell, Director of Development Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Spagnell, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. Application 2024A-20 is an application for a minor variance to permit an accessory building that exceeds the height provision of the zoning bylaw and exceeds the total gross floor area of the zoning bylaw. The application and the subject property associated with the application is located at 81 Moonstone Road East. The property is zoned residential R1 and environmental protection exception 33. The piece of the property, the most southerly rear portion of the property, a pie-shaped piece, is zoned EP. As far as this application goes, the building is located out of that area, and that EP zoning does not have any effect on any of the recommendations contained within the report. The official plan designates the property as rural settlements, and the current use of the property is residential as a new home is being constructed. The house is a walkout, and there's an elevation difference from the southern half of the property to the northern half of the property to the south. And there's a significant elevation change, which was considered as part of this application and does have bearing on the relief looked for as far as height's concerned. Next slide, please. The photos in the slide right here again depicts the property limits. You'll see that there's a wooded area to the south of the property, which is consistent with neighboring properties. And you'll also see that there's been a public notification sign posted on the property where any members or any neighbors can see that there's an application before the committee this evening. Next slide, please. The specifics of the minor variance would allow for what has been deemed as a pool house / garage. The proposed building is intended to be utilized for the storage of items that are incidental to the pool and also activities associated with the use of the pool, but also to house any maintenance equipment or things that are incidental to the residential use. So that would include lawn tractors, lawn maintenance equipment, things of that nature. The specifics of the application would seek relief for height. So the zoning bylaw currently requires a height of 4.5 meters, and that's a maximum. And what's being proposed is a 6.64 meter height to the midpoint of the building between the peak and the eaves of the proposed pool house. In addition, there is a loft storage area within the pool house, and there's a gross floor area of 125.7 square meters or 1,353 square feet. The reason why I raised the elevation as it relates to the property and the house being a walkout is that this building will be situated much lower than the existing location of the house, at least perceived from the street line. Therefore, from a height perspective, the proposed accessory building will be less than the height of the main dwelling. Next slide, please. This slide shows some elevation drawings of what the building will look like. I note that the slide on the left shows the garage doors. Those will be pointed northward, and the area of the building associated with the pool facility will be pointing southerly. The garage doors will be pointing southerly direction, and the building will be oriented so as the pool function of the building will be oriented to the pool facing north. And then you can see on the right a slide that shows the layout, the ground floor layout, and then the loft area, which is to be utilized for storage. Next slide, please. So staff are recommending approval of the minor variance application on the basis that the application meets all 4 tests. Staff have considered the application to maintain the intent of the zoning bylaw in that the building will remain subordinate to the main use on the property being the house. So it will be smaller in gross floor area and also be of a lesser height than the height of the building. The use conforms with the official plan in that the accessory building is incidental to the residential use on the property and is permitted under the township's official plan. And based on the area, based on the scope, scale of the building, is considered by staff to be appropriate development. And staff are recommending approval of the application on the basis that human habitation, commercial uses, and home industries will not be located within the building, and subject to the standard conditions of approval. Staff are available to answer any questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spagnol. Now ask the applicant, Doug Reed, who is registered to speak to the application if he wishes to provide any comment or anything further with regard to the staff report. Mr. Reed?
I don't really have anything to say.
Just please step up and state your name first.
Yeah,
And then
Doug Reed, the applicant. Mayor Greenlaw, council members, I think it's pretty simple. The new planning department seems very approachable and very easy to deal with. And I have to make a comment. Your building department, I just built 4 new houses, have been a pleasure to deal with. So I know you guys like to hear some good feedback once in a while, so there you go. If there's any other questions you have about this application, now's the time to ask.
thank you very much, and flattery will get you everywhere. Members of the committee, do you have any questions for Mr. Reed or Mr. Spagnol? Nope, seeing none. I think you're quite right. It seems fairly straightforward. Yeah. Has there been anyone, Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been anyone registered to speak to this matter via Zoom or in chambers?
No, Mr. Chair, we have not received any additional registrations.
Okay, thank you very much. And planning staff, has there been anyone who's communicated since we began the hearing?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, nothing further has been received.
All right, thank you. And is there anyone who came to chambers to speak to this matter who wasn't otherwise registered? Okay, seeing none. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we have the motion read for this hearing, please?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Shell. It is recommended, 1, that DS 2024-056, Brent Spagnol, Director, Development Services, minor variance application 2024-A20, Doug Reed, 81 Moonstone Road East, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024-A20, specifically to permit an oversized accessory building, pool house / storage building with a maximum height of 6.64 meters, 21.78 feet, and a maximum floor area of 125.7 square meters, 1,353 square feet, on lands municipally known as 81 Moonstone Road East, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-056. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any comments on the motion? Seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you. Enjoy the pool house.
Thank you very much. Good night,
Thank
guys.
you very much for your positive comments. Thank you. So this completes the application process and closes the hearing. The committee wishes to thank those in attendance and those who participated otherwise. A copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comment or provided oral comment during the hearing in regard to the application. With that, we move on to application 2024-A21, Susan Keslick of 59 Parkside Drive. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comment with respect to the minor variance application submitted by Susan Keslick on lands municipally known as 59 Parkside Drive. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from Enbridge Gas dated April 16 and Township of Oro-Medonte Building Division dated April 18, 2024.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Andy Karaskakis, Manager of Planning Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Karaskakis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minor variance application 2024-A21 has been submitted for lands located at 59 Parkside Drive. Subject property has a lot area of 0.22 hectares, about half an acre, and consists of a single detached dwelling, a detached accessory building, and a boathouse. Subject property is zoned shoreline residential in the township zoning bylaw and is designated shoreline in the township's official plan. The lands are located on the shorelines of Lake Simcoe on the south side of Parkside Drive and are outlined in red on the aerial photo on the left side of the image of the screen there. And the image on the right shows the view of the subject lands as viewed from Parkside Drive. The lands that are subject to the minor variance is a white structure on the right-hand side, the detached accessory garage, and we'll get into the purpose of the minor variance in the next slide. So the applicants are proposing to construct a 26.7 meter square foot addition to the existing detached garage that we saw on the previous slide there. And as a result of the addition, the result of the detached garage will be larger than what's currently permitted by the zoning bylaw. So the zoning bylaw permits and requires a square footage of 70 square meters for a detached accessory building, which is about 753 square feet. And as a result of the addition, the detached accessory building, the garage, will have a square footage of 80.2 square meters, which is about 864 square feet. The image on the right side of the screen is the applicant's site plan, which shows a bird's eye view of the property. So the existing garage located in the top left corner of the screen, which is adjacent to the street, and the proposed addition is to be located to the south of the existing garage. We'll see a few more pictures that show the location of the proposed addition a bit more clear. The applicant has submitted a couple of building elevations and renderings of the proposed addition and the existing garage. So the proposed addition is to accommodate a single bay garage and is to kind of match the existing exterior and design of the existing building. The floor plan shows the proposed layout of the existing of the proposed addition, and as well as the existing garage that's currently there. So this view here shows the existing garage, which is currently a 2-bay garage, and the addition is to be located to the left of the existing garage. The image on the left side there shows again the proposed location of the proposed addition in context of the adjacent property, which is bounded by the existing cedar hedge line that's there. And another image on the right there again shows looking straight at the proposed addition and the existing garage. This image here shows a view looking, I guess, southeast from the adjacent property to the west there, and just what that will look like, the proposed addition, the existing garage and the proposed addition as viewed from the adjacent property. So planning staff have reviewed the minor variance application in context of the surrounding neighborhood context and the 4 tests of the minor variance, and also with the applicable policies, provincial policies, county and township policies, and are recommending approval of the proposed addition and the increase in size of the detached garage on the basis that it does meet the 4 tests of a variance and complies and is consistent with the applicable policies, subject to the standard conditions outlined on the screen there and in the staff report. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. I'll now ask the agent, Aaron Dale, Who is registered to speak to the application to step forward and provide any comment or add anything further to the staff presentation? Mr. Dale, please, if you could just state your name and present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And my name is Aaron Dales, and I'd like to thank the committee for hearing our proposal tonight and the staff as well. I think the staff report was quite complete, and the photographs definitely helped out as well. I'm just here to answer any questions that the committee or staff or public may have this evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dales. Are there any questions with regard to this application from members of the committee at this point? Okay, seeing none. Madam Deputy Clerk, is there anyone registered to speak to this matter?
No, Mr. Deputy Mayor, there were no additional registrations received.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone present in chambers who wishes to speak to this matter other than Mr. Dales? Okay, seeing no one. Any additional correspondence received during the course of the hearing, planning staff?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing additional has been received for this application.
Okay, with that, Madam Deputy Clerk, may we have a motion for this matter?
Moved by Young, seconded by Greenlaw. It is recommended, one, that DS 2024-057, Andy Karaskakis, Manager, Planning Services, Minor Variance Application 2024-A21, Charles and Susan Keslick, 59 Parkside Drive, be received and adopted. Two, that minor variance application 2024-A21, specifically to construct a 26.7 square meter, 288.0 square feet addition to the existing detached accessory building garage to permit an increased size of the garage with a floor area of 80.2 square meters, 864.0 square feet on lands municipally known as 59 Parkside Drive, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-057. Three, that the applicant be advised of the committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions with regard to the motion? Seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. This completes the application process and closes this hearing. The committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for their participation, and a copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comment or provided oral comment during the hearing in regard to the application. With that, we move on to application 2024-A16. Dollard Webb is the applicant, and the municipal address is 336 Mount St. Louis Road East. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application submitted by Dollard Webb on lands municipally known as 336 Mount St. Louis Road East. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments have been received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, excuse me, dated April 16. Building Division, dated April 19. Severn Sound Environmental Association, April 19. And Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, dated April 22nd, 2024.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to George Vadaboncourt, Manager of Planning Special Projects, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Vadaboncourt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, members of committee and members of the public. I'm presenting the minor variance application 2024 at A16 submitted by Dollard and Linda Webb. It's to permit a new accessory building or garage on their property at 336 Mount St. Louis Road
East. Their property is 0.79 hectares in size, or a little under 2 acres, and it currently has a single-family home and a garage. The zoning is agricultural, official plan designation is Greenlands, and the current use is residential. Next slide, please. The applicants are proposing to demolish an existing garage and construct a new 133.7 square meter, 1,440 square feet detached garage in front of the existing detached garage. They are seeking relief from the maximum size and maximum height for detached garage under the provisions of zoning bylaw 97-95 as amended. On the screen, you'll see a sketch that they have provided. It's quite a busy sketch, but the new garage is identified at the bottom of the screen, and the existing garage is just above it, and it's going to be demolished. Next slide, please. So here we have a couple of images. The one on the left is an air photo of the property. The one on the right is a photograph of the property from the road, showing the notice sign posted. Next slide, please. This slide shows the elevation drawings that were submitted as part of the application. So you'll see the front and rear view, and then the side view of the proposed new garage. Next slide, please. This is a slide of the applicant's floor plan. It's a single-story garage with one garage door entrance and two man doors located at either end of the building. Next slide, please. So these slides show Mount St. Louis Road East looking south and Mount St. Louis Road East looking north. Next slide, please. These slides on the left show the existing garage from the road, and the image on the right is a closer picture of the existing garage. As indicated, this garage will be demolished, and with the new garage being constructed. Next slide, please. There's three photographs on this slide, and I know it's hard to see, but the image on the left, there are a couple of black stakes in the ground, and that the applicants have staked out where the new garage is going to be located. That spruce tree that's there will be removed. The slide in the middle, on the right-hand side of the image, you'll see a little black stake. That's the corner of the building in relation to the road. And then the image on the right is basically the driveway leading back out to the road. The recommendation is that minor variance application 2024 A16 submitted by Dollard and Linda Webb be approved on the basis that it meets the 4 tests of a minor variance under the Planning Act. It is in conformity and consistent with applicable provincial, county, and township planning policies and represents good planning. Staff are recommending a number of conditions of approval listed on this slide and the following slide and in the staff report. They are all standard conditions. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vedaboncourt. Now ask the applicant, Dollard Webb, who is registered to speak, if he has anything to provide by way of further comment or add anything to the staff presentation. Mr. Webb, please. Just come up and state your name, please.
Dollard Webb, Mayor Greenlaw and Council. Yeah, if anybody had any questions, it was well done, pretty much.
Okay. Excellent. So you're here for any questions
Yep.
if they arise. Excellent. Okay, thank you. Committee members, do you have any questions with regard to this application of the applicant or staff? Oh, Councillor Schell, please.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. I see that on the drawing it says it's an engineered slab, so I'm taking that's a floating slab.
Yes, and I've contacted Megan Drew, the architect that drew it up. We were going to go. I'm still waiting to get plans changed back to instead of the poured pad, it's going to be like a frost wall. And
Yep.
I'm just waiting for Megan to send me some other plans
Thank you.
to submit them.
Yep.
Good.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. Madam Deputy Clerk, anyone registered to speak to this matter?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Okay, thank you very much.
thanks.
Anyone in chambers who's here to speak to this matter? Okay, seeing no one. Any further communication received during the course of the hearing on this matter?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing further has been received.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we hear the motion for this variance?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Hutchison. It is recommended, one, that DS 2024-050, George Vanabancourt, Manager Planning, Special Projects, minor variance application 2024-A16, Dollard and Linda Webb, 336 Mount St. Louis Road, be received and adopted. Two, that minor variance application 2024-A16, specifically to permit an accessory building with a maximum height of approximately 4.93 meters, 16.1 feet, and a floor area of 133.7 square meters, 1,440.0 square feet on lands municipally known as 336 Mount St. Louis Road, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-050. Three, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments with regard to the motion? Seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Please enjoy your garage. This completes the application process and closes this hearing. The committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for your participation, and a copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to application 2024A23. The applicant is Rod Reed, and the municipal address is 15 Maple Crescent, Big Cedar Estates. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application submitted by Rod Reed on lands municipally known as 15 Maple Crescent. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, have there been communications received on this matter?
Yes, correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, April 15, and Building Division dated April 19.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Andy Karaskakis, Manager of Planning Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Karaskakis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minor variance application 2024-A23 has been submitted for lands located at 15 Maple Crescent, which is located in Big Cedar Park. The subject lands are zoned agricultural rural exception 7 and environmental protection and are designated rural, agricultural, and green lands. 15 Maple Crescent is currently being used for a residential property. And the purpose of the minor variance application is to enclose the existing carport and convert it to an attached garage. Because the subject property is located within the environmental protection zone, the applicant is required to submit the subject minor variance application. So there's a few variances that have been applied for. All of them have been applied for to obtain relief to permit the enclosure of the existing carport, which essentially is to permit the proposed development within the EP zone and to convert the carport area to floor space to be attached to the existing dwelling. The applicant also provided a site plan which shows the existing dwelling, the existing carport, the rear deck, and it's the existing carport that is the subject of the variance, which is again to be enclosed and converted to an attached garage. As mentioned earlier, the subject property is zoned environmental protection. The image on the left shows the existing zoning schedule, and the subject property is outlined in purple, which shows it in the green in the environmental protection area. The image on the right is taken from the schedule to the township's official plan, the natural heritage, water resources, and natural hazards schedule. And the subject property again is outlined in purple, which shows that there is a nearby wetland feature and significant woodlands. And that's the whole purpose of the environmental protection zone, but the mapping also extends further into Big Cedar Park and zones this property as environmental protection. The aerial photo on the left of the screen shows the subject property outlined in red, which is surrounding context. It consists of residential properties. And the image on the right shows the sign posted in the window in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. A few images here show views looking northeast and southwest along Maple Crescent. So this view here shows the existing dwelling and the carport. And again, it's the carport that's the subject of the variance to be enclosed and to be converted into an attached garage. Few more images here showing the attached carport, front and side views, again to be fully enclosed. So planning staff have reviewed the minor variance application and are of the opinion that it meets the four tests of the minor variance and is consistent and conforms to applicable provincial policies and township and county policies, and are recommending approval of the minor variance application subject to the conditions outlined on the screen and enclosed in the staff report. And Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions committee may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. Now ask the agent, Doug Humphreys, who is registered to speak to the application if he wishes to provide any additional comment or has anything further to add to the staff presentation. Mr. Humphreys, please. I think we're just waiting to connect him.
Guess I have to unmute. Did you hear me? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, Mr. Humphreys. Please proceed.
Okay. Sorry, Mr. Chair. Thank you. In the spirit of flattery, I must continue, like Mr. Reed said at the beginning, your staff have been very gracious and very good to work with. The young receptionist that starts the process is a very pleasant young lady, and we've had nothing but good reports and good rapport working with her and with your staff, and appreciate all that the staff has done for Big Cedars over the last little while in working through some of these issues. I have no other comment. I appreciate your support in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Humphreys. Your comments are well noted. Members of the committee, do you have any comments or questions with regard to this? Councillor Hutchison, please.
Thank you. I believe with Big Cedar, we've been making an exception on the fee for the application for these variances. Am I correct in that? No? Okay.
As speaking for Big Cedar, yes, you have. Everyone I've been involved in the last 3 years have been reimbursed.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Seeing none, I think just by way of a comment, it would to staff, might it be possible to come to some agreement with the Nottawasaga Valley authority whereby we don't have to treat this, these aspects of building in the environmentally protected zone. We've already acknowledged over a course of some time that these lands are built on, and there's nothing we can really do, and nor is there a desire on our behalf to put staff to do this work when it's not necessary, and then collect fees from the residents. So I think, in part, Councillor Hutchison's point sort of goes to that issue. Is there a comment on that, please? Or maybe it's premature at this point. We can bring it up at another meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as the applicant, okay, the agent for the applicant, I must tell you that I have been speaking with the Nottawasaga Conservation Authority on numerous occasions. And we were very pleased that as of April the 1st this year, they have revised their line so that instead of having 100 meters, I believe it was, they've reduced it to 40 meters. So a big portion of the subject land in Big Cedar now will be retracted and will not require input from them going forward. There is a letter to in our file, I believe, in the planning department that I did forward, that I did receive from Nottawasaga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Humphreys. Appreciate that follow-up. Mr. Mayor, did you have a comment?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I guess the question would be posed to either Mr. Spagnell or Mr. or Andy. I guess the point is, until the lines are drawn where they don't have to come through this application, to defer the fees is at a financial loss to the township, because we still have to engage staff to process the application and go through the steps necessary. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, yes, that is correct. Staff, the reason for the requirement for the reports is that the subject lands in this case here in the previous applications that Development Services has dealt with are zoned environmental protection. And in order to clear those lands per se for the existing residential or the existing development that's there would have to be a zoning bylaw amendment done at the municipal level through the township's consolidation process and updating process of its zoning bylaw. Until that happens, minor variance applications are required to seek relief for expansions such as this for any development that occurs on the site. So that's just the requirement there. The NVCA may have pulled back on their line, but the zoning bylaw would have to catch up on a township-wide basis to reflect the updated official plan. From a fees perspective, typically fee requests would be brought before the committee or before council for consideration on an individual basis for council to determine whether or not it's appropriate to refund the fees associated with these applications. So that's just a bit of context as to what the process is. The mayor is correct in that there's still staff resources needed to process these applications, which draws from staff time and whatnot. That would essentially be a refunding of that staff time for each application.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spagnell, for that explanation. And I think what we need to be cognizant of, until those lines are fully redrawn and the bylaws are adjusted accordingly, you know, our applications don't actually encompass total cost recovery as it is. So, and I think that is what we have to keep into consideration on deferring application fees. I think everyone knows going into the process that there is an application fee, and ask for after the work has been completed to ask for it to be reimbursed. I'm not sure. It kind of defeats the purpose of the process. And if you have anything to add, Mr. Spagnell.
Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. And I'd just like to add the alternative to the township-wide process is a specific application submitted for the entirety of the development to rezone to allow for the residential uses that are there. that is another avenue that the property owner could go through to expedite that process to align the zoning so that future minor variances are not needed. So that's another avenue that can be taken to expedite the process as well, if the applicant does not want to wait for the township's zoning bylaw update to occur.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, if I may speak to that, it's Doug Humphrey speaking. We have, over the last 3 years, worked with the previous council and suggested one blanket coverage for the park. And it was recommended at that time, due to the cumbersome possibilities that it could involve in getting it, that the zoning bylaws were being readjusted and that this was being taken into consideration. So it was recommended at that time that we just wait for the zoning bylaws to be redrafted. So we did not proceed with that at that time. And yes, it's always been, I guess I've been involved in about 6 of these now, just a matter of recourse that the monies have been refunded. So if the council has a process that we need to adopt to rescind or to refund our application fees, I'd like to know that so that we can get that in place, because each one of the residents now in the park are aware that everyone else has received their refunds. So it'd be kind of awkward in this case, for the Reeds to not receive it because they know everyone else has.
Okay, thank you very much. I think maybe it might be best if the applicant could submit for that for a subsequent meeting, and then we could handle it at that time rather than amend the current motion. And with that, are there any other further comments with regard to this? Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so just to provide clarity and not get caught in the spin cycle that's coming up over and over again, Mr. Spagnol, can we find out what parameters have been changed, and then that way it can be identified? I think really the starting point is the NVCA clearly communicating to us where they've drawn the lines back from. So when people come forth with an application, we know exactly what we're dealing with.
Mayor Greenlaw, I think that could definitely be looked at in further detail when staff are bringing the request forward to Development Services or Council for consideration to give a better idea of the lay of the land and what an application process may look like if it's a site-specific rezoning to rezone to EP, and to what that process may look like. So staff will be sure to take a look at that and provide that detail when that request comes forward from the applicant.
Yeah, no, because I know this is a past issue, and Mr. Humphreys, just from my recollection, it came back as separate requests for that to be deferred, and with the exception of one where I know a council member took the initiative. But I think what we're doing is we're setting a very dangerous precedent that could expand well outside of just that park. So I think we need to be consistent, and we need to either have the process in place and full clarity before we just start deferring application costs.
Thank you very much. Any further comment from the committee? Okay, seeing none.
Mr. Chairman, the only comment I would have, it's Mr. Humphrey speaking. Who can I work with to make this, clarify this and make sure that it's communicated properly to the folks in the park then, and what the process is and will be, should be in going forward?
Right. Well, we will, thank you very much, Mr. Humphreys. We will seek clarity through Director Spagnol, Brent Spagnol. You can contact him on the matter. And I think, this situation is anomalous because the development is built entirely on EP lands, and obviously the NVCA maybe could also consider withdrawing the border right to the edge of the development area, and that would help all the parties, and they could do it unilaterally without a lot of other zoning bylaw changes and official plan changes that otherwise might have to take place.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, it's Doug Humphreys. I am under the impression that the Nottawasaga Conservation are in the process or have completed their map showing their new line. They advised me that somewhere early May, their map would be published and they would have that new line. So from that perspective, I think that has been completed. The other thing I wish to note is that meeting last month, we had an application for here in the park for 8 Oak Place, and they are anticipating the same rebate. So there's two projects at the moment that are looking forward to the referral or return of their application fee.
Okay, and I think we will handle that separately. Councillor
Okay,
Shell?
thank you.
Yes, thank you. Just to the floor, I think we've gotten off topic here. We're talking about something else other than the approval of this. You're adding something else onto the plate. Maybe we could put that on another plate another time. Thanks.
Agreed, Councillor. Thank you very much. Okay, so with that, Madam Deputy Clerk, is there anyone registered to speak to this matter?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Okay, thank you very much. Planning staff, has there been anyone who's called in during the course of the hearing?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing additional has been received.
Thank you very much. Anyone in chambers who came to speak to this matter? Seeing no one who wants to speak to the matter? May I have the motion, Madam Deputy Clerk?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Greenlaw. It is recommended, 1, that DS 2024-052, Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, Minor Variance Application 2024-A23, Linda and Rod Reed, 15 Maple Crescent, be received and adopted. 2, that Minor Variance Application 2024-A23, specifically to enclose the carport and convert it into a 31.2 square meters, 336.0 square feet attached garage to the existing modular home located within an environmental protection EP zone on the lands known as 15 Maple Crescent, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-052. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk. Could you amend the motion so it's not Catherine, but rather Mr. Karaskakis?
If you would prefer, I could note Catherine McCarroll wrote the report, but I could also indicate that Andy presented if you would prefer. Okay, thank you.
No need, my mistake. Any question about the motion itself? Okay, seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All in favor? Okay, the motion is carried. Please enjoy enclosing your carport. This completes the application process and closes this hearing. The committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for your participation, and a copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. Thank you very much. With that, we move on to application 2024-A24. Applicant is Gary Irving of 6022 Line 7 North. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application submitted by Gary Irving on lands municipally known as 6022 Line 7 North. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been any correspondence received on this matter?
Yes, correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division dated May 1st and Building Division dated April 18, 2024.
Thank you very much. I now turn the meeting over to Brent Spagnol, Director of Development Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Spagnol, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members and members of the public. The application before committee this evening is an application for a minor variance seeking relief for height and total gross floor area for an accessory building. The subject property is located at 6022 Line 7 North, which is in the northerly portion of the municipality. The property is zoned agricultural and rural, is designated greenlands, and the current use is for residential purposes. The house that's located on the property is a bungalow. Again, I want to speak to the elevation of the house and that it is situated approximately 8 to 10 feet higher than where the proposed location is for the accessory structure. The property is treed. Approximately half of it is treed. And there is also, there's 2 access points on the property. One access point is to the south portion of the property, and one access point is located in the north. Next slide, please, Andy. So as I noted, the access points are there's 2 access points, and the property is highlighted or outlined in red in the aerial photo above. The access point to the north is shown on the image on the right, which shows the proposed location of the driveway and the view looking outward east to Line 7 North. So basically, it's a treed area, and the building is to be located in that area where there's minimal tree removal, and again, is to be accessed through a secondary access from Line 7. Next slide, please. The specifics of the minor variance are that the applicant is proposing a height of 5.3 meters or 17.6 feet, and they're proposing a total gross floor area of 217 square meters or 2,340 square feet. In comparison to the existing house on the property, the house currently has a total square footage of 576 square meters or 6,200 square feet. And that's inclusive of the garage. So we're looking at a fairly big footprint for the house, significant gross floor area in comparison to the proposed accessory structure. Next slide, please. This slide shows the elevations. You'll see the garage doors. There's a difference in height in the doors. The proposed building is needed for the storage of various I would say lawn maintenance, machinery, equipment, cars, recreational trailers, recreational vehicles. The location of the building is also to be situated in the front yard, which is permitted under the zoning bylaw for a property that is zoned agricultural. And based on, next slide, please. Based on staff's review of the policies that apply to this property, are recommending approval subject to the standard conditions. Staff have determined that the use is in conformity with the official plan, as the building will be located in an area that has already been cleared for access purposes, and there will be minimal tree removal. The use is considered to be incidental to the residential use on the property, and is considered to be appropriate development for the agricultural rural area. I'd like to add that it's not uncommon to have larger buildings out in the agricultural rural area because there's usually more equipment required for lawn maintenance. There's usually recreational vehicles and things of that nature that need to be stored on these properties. And is on this basis that staff is recommending approval, as the development, the proposed building is considered to be minor based on all the information. Standard condition has also been included that the building is not to be utilized for human habitation, home industry, or commercial purposes, and then other standard conditions related to zoning certificate, engineering lot grading needed as part of the building permit process are also required. That concludes staff's presentation, and staff would be happy to answer any questions from the committee or members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spagnol. I now ask the applicant, Gary Irving, who is registered to speak to the application, if he wishes to provide any further comment or add anything to the staff presentation. Mr. Irving, if you could state your name, please, and...
Gary Irving. I'm here if there's any questions with regards to the application. I'd be pleased to answer them.
Thank you very much, sir. Committee members, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Irving, how far away is your nearest neighbor?
None that's seen. We're on a dead end road. There's only 2 other farms past us, so the impact is minimal, and nobody will actually see this building.
Right. Okay, that's sort of the impression I got. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, Councillor Young.
Is that Dan behind you?
Yes.
Dan? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I know where you are then.
Okay.
Thanks.
Our property was severed off of his.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Councillor Young. Madam Deputy Clerk, is there anyone else registered to speak to this matter?
No, Mr. Deputy Mayor, there were no additional registrations received.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone here in chambers other than Mr. Irving who wishes to speak to this matter? Seeing no one. Any additional correspondence received during the course of the hearing?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing additional has been received.
Thank you very much. Madam Deputy Clerk, might I hear the motion, please?
Moved by Young, seconded by Bard. It is recommended that DS 2024-059, Brent Spagnol, Director, Development Services, minor variance application 2024-824, Pat Irving, 6022 Line 7 North, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024-824 to specifically permit an oversized accessory building, garage/shop, having a maximum height of 5.3 meters, 17.6 feet, and a maximum floor area of 217.0 square meters, 2,340 square feet, on lands municipally known as 6022 Line 7 North, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-059. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any questions from committee members with regard to the motion? Seeing none. May I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your time.
This completes the application process and closes the hearing, and the committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for their participation. A copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comment with regard, in regard to the hearing and the application. Thank you very much. With that, we move on to application number 2024A22, Lisa Ricchetto, municipal address 5939, Line 8 North. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application submitted by Lisa Ricchetto on lands municipally known as 5939, Line 8 North. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purpose of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been correspondence received on this matter?
Yes, correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, April 22nd. Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, April 22nd. Marshall Dixon, dated April 23rd. Township of Oro-Medonte Building Division, dated April 24th. And Matthew Rose, dated April 30th, 2024.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to George Vadaboncourt, Manager of Planning Special Projects, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Vadaboncourt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'm presenting a minor variance application 2024-A22 submitted by Lisa Rossetto. And the purpose of the application is to expand the size of a non-conforming building and add a second floor residential unit to the existing building. The property is located at 5939 Line 8 North. It's 23.7 acres in size, or 9.6 hectares. It has a single family home, 2 large accessory buildings, and a couple of other structures on the property. The property is zoned agricultural rural. Official plan designates the property greenlands, and the current use is residential. Next slide, please. On the right, you can see the applicant's site plan sketch. The building that is proposed to be modified is located at the bottom right-hand corner. There's an addition going on the south end of the building, and I will show some of that in some later slides. Next slide, please. So the applicant is seeking relief from 7 provisions of the zoning bylaw. There's a little bit of history to this particular building. It was constructed under permit in 2008 as an agricultural building, and was converted shortly thereafter into a woodworking shop with a loft, and operated like that, and then continues to operate as a woodworking shop with a loft. The zoning on the property changed in 2013, where home industries were no longer permitted under the agricultural rural zone. So there was that changed the status of the building, so it became a non-conforming building. So when the application came in, the planning staff reviewed the application and considered it under the provisions of the zoning bylaw pertaining to an accessory building. So those provisions are a little bit more restrictive. Hence, we've got 7 minor variances that we're having to consider this evening, Mr. Chair. The first one is the non-conforming use, to expand the non-conforming use. There are setback requirements for an accessory building from the interior side lot line. There's a minor variance for uses permitted in an accessory building. In this case, proposing the second floor apartment. The maximum height of the building is proposed to be at 24.5 feet, and the floor area is much larger than what is typically permitted for an accessory building. And then the provisions dealing with the second residential unit, the apartment outside of a single family dwelling, and then a maximum floor area of an apartment unit. Next slide, please. So the image on the left shows the property. It's quite a large property with a significant wooded area on it, and the development is closer to the road as shown on the slide. The image on the right shows the sign and the entrance to the property. Next slide, please. These are some elevation drawings prepared by the applicant's family member, and they show the existing building and the proposed addition. Next slide, please. This is a floor area of the second floor, which shows the apartment unit and then shows the addition onto the end of the existing building, and it's just a large open area attached to the proposed apartment. Next slide, please. So these images show the area around the property. So the image on the left is line 8 north, looking north. The image in the center is the entrance to the property. It's well treed along line 8 north. The image to the right shows 5939 line 8 north looking south. Next slide, please. As you go onto the property, the image on the left is the accessory building near the dwelling unit, and the image in the center is a treat area in front of the larger accessory building that's subject to this application. And as you can see, you can't really see it behind the trees as you enter the property. And then the image on the right is a picture of the south side of the larger accessory building. Next slide, please. This slide shows on the left a portion of the circular driveway that goes around the larger building, and the main dwelling unit is shown with the image on the right. Next slide, please. So these slides actually show the accessory building. You can see that construction has already started on the addition. This was noted by our building department, and an order to comply was issued, and hence we have the minor variance applications that we are considering this evening. The image in the center shows the building from the opposite end of the proposed addition, with the windows and the second floor loft, and the image on the right just gives a little more expanded view of the proposed the existing accessory building, and you could just see the addition at the rear of that. Next slide, please. So staff reviewed this minor variance application in the context of the property and the surrounding land areas, and are recommending approval, subject to a number of conditions. These conditions are on this slide and the next slide. They're all standard conditions except for one that has been modified. Staff were contacted by 2 area residents. Both are in support of the application. They don't have an issue with respect to the proposed addition nor the second-story residential unit, but one was concerned with respect to the vegetation on the north property line adjacent their property. So condition 3C that's shown on the slide is a new condition that was inserted after the report was prepared, and it is modified as a result of the formal comments received from the neighbor to the north, and it basically deals with additional landscaping along the property line to provide a buffer or a screen from their property to the applicant's property. And staff are of the view that this condition is reasonable in the context and has been included. And as I noted, it's been included in the motion that committee will be considering a little bit later in the meeting. One of the other requests had to do with a property survey to indicate where the property line exists between the applicant's property and the neighbor. Staff reviewed the request. We're going to suggest to the neighbor and the applicant that they hire together a surveyor just to mark where the boundary is, so that the new vegetation can be placed, or the barrier can be placed on the applicant's property. There are bars out there that exist, but it's always handy when you're constructing something near a property line to have a survey there. The municipality doesn't tend to request this as a condition unless the building is in very close proximity to the property line. But we're just encouraging the applicant and the adjacent property owner to share in the cost of locating the boundary. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that committee has.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vedaboncourt. Now ask the agent, Matthew Ricetto, who is registered to speak to the application, if he has any further comments to provide or any further thing to add to the staff report, please state your name.
I'm Matthew Ricciotto. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Committee members, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant? Or yes, that's correct. No, seeing none. Okay. Madam Deputy Clerk, anyone else registered to speak to this matter?
No, Mr. Deputy Mayor, there were no additional registrations received.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone here in chambers who wishes to speak to this matter? Seeing no one wishing to speak. Any additional correspondence received during the course of the hearing?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing additional has been received.
Thank you very much. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we now hear the motion?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Shell. It is recommended one that DS 2024-060, George Vedabancur, Manager Planning Special Projects, Minor Variance Application 2024-A22, Lisa Ricciotto, 5939, Line 8 North, Oro-Medonte, be received. 2, that minor variance application 2024-A22, specifically to A, legalize a 142.7 square meter, 1,536.0 square feet, 2-story addition to the existing non-conforming building to expand the home industry on the ground floor, and B, convert the entire second floor, existing and proposed, into an accessory residential apartment unit, and relief to the following sections of zoning bylaw 9795 as amended and as outlined in DS 2024-060. Section 5.18, Table B4C, Section 5.1.1, Section 5.1.4, Section 5.1.6, Section 5.4, Section 5.4C, on lands municipally known as 5939, Line 8 North, Oro-Medonte be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-060, as amended to replace Condition C with the following: that the applicant install appropriate screening in the form of vegetation or a fence just inside the interior lot line to the abutting property to the north at 5953, Line 8 North, in a location generally commencing from the south corner of the dwelling located at 5938, Line 8 North, and ending at the northeast corner of the proposed addition to the existing building to the satisfaction of the affected property owners and the township. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk. Anyone need that to be reread? Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. Well, could you, through you, Chair Lavoie, to Mr. Vedabancur, could you just clarify? You said about splitting the cost on the survey, identifying the property lines. I didn't hear it in the motion. Was it included in the motion?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, it was not. So the owner had asked for a boundary survey, and what staff are suggesting and will be suggesting is that just the lot line, what we refer to as a lot line, be pinned so that it just be identified with some stakes, not a formal survey. It just be identified with stakes, and that's a common approach. Just anybody building a fence or whatever, they sometimes have their property pinned, and it shows where the boundary is. So that's what we're suggesting, and that it's to the benefit of both property owners. So we thought that it would be something that they could work together on.
And that act would have to be done by a surveyor, though, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I guess I want to make sure there's, because it's not part of the condition, and the costs were to be split over the two owners, and I just want to make sure that your neighbor and yourself have agreed to that kind of arrangement.
This is the first I've heard of this.
Oh, okay. So does it have an effect upon passing this? It's recommended, but it's not part of the motion, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so if it doesn't happen, I guess is my question. If it's part of the recommendation and it doesn't take place, they can still move forward.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Well,
Through you, Mr.
if
Chair.
they don't pin the property line, they can still move forward with the application. Because it's just because it was mentioned in the report as a condition or a recommendation, and it's not part of the motion. I just want to be clear that it doesn't have to be part of the motion for it to move forward.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, it's a recommendation at this point in the abundance of caution when you're investing money to do something adjacent to your property line. It's wise to get the boundary confirmed so that you're not on somebody else's property. But because it's viewed as being to the both parties' benefit, it was felt that the cost of that should be shared. But we, as staff, we're not recommending that that be imposed as a condition.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Deputy Clerk, yes, please.
My apologies, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify, the condition C that I had read 5938, and it should have been 5953.
Oh, correct. It is reversed in item C, right. I see that now. Appears you might own two properties and you don't know it.
So it'll be like the south corner of the dwelling located at 5953, line 8 north, and ending at the northeast corner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Our address is 5939, not 5938.
Okay, and the abutting property is 5953.
Yes.
Okay, we clear with amending the motion to that effect?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the reference was made to the property to the north, and that is correct. So in terms of the vegetation to be installed, is to be installed closely to where the dwelling is at the property to the north at 5953 line 8 north, and along that common lot line there. So
okay.
It was just an error on our end.
Okay, no problem. and that error has been amended. Okay, thank you. We won't ask for a reread of it. Thank you very much.
Can I speak?
Yes, certainly.
So for that lot line, there is existing tree, like a tree line on that lot line.
Mm-hmm.
So adding vegetation, I planted trees maybe about 8 years ago, evergreens, and they're about yay high now. Like what extent needs to be done, like, or do I need to put in a fence? Putting in a fence, I'm clearing those trees to get the fence in. Like what exactly for adding vegetation, what extent do I go to?
Yeah, my understanding from reading the report was, I guess the trees were, the leaves on the trees were above the view line. However, Mr. Vadaboncourt, do you want to comment on that? Because it has to be to the neighbor's satisfaction and to the township's satisfaction, as I understand the motion.
This is between my property and the neighbor's property.
That's as I understand it.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. So the trees, the line of spruce trees are quite large, and the lower 10 feet from the branches to the ground is open right now. And it's that area there that does not have a screen that is being recommended that a vegetative buffer be planted or a fence. And certainly, Mr. Chair, I could review that with Mr. Risotto and confirm exactly the area where the vegetation needs to be planted.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Vadaboncourt.
I'm good.
Okay,
Thank
are you
you.
okay with that, Mr.
Yep.
Ricetto?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. We've heard the motion. Anybody have any further comment on the motion? Okay, seeing none. You got it committed to memory there, Councillor Young, I see. May I call a vote on the motion, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for their participation. A copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comment during the hearing in regard to the application. With that, we move on to application 2024B03. Applicant is Shirley Guitar. Municipal address is 440 Line 11 North. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the consent application submitted by Shirley Guitar on lands municipally known as 440 Line 11 North. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the consent application. I now turn the meeting over to Andy Karaskakis, Manager of Planning Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the consent application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Karaskakis. Oh, sorry. Madam just before that, I see you. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been correspondence received on the matter?
Yes, correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, April 16, Enbridge Gas dated April 22, Township of Oro-Medonte Building Division, April 23, County of Simcoe Planning Department, April 25, and Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority dated April 29, 2024.
Thank you very much for that. Sorry for leaping ahead there. Mr. Karaskakis, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Consent application 2024B03 is for lands located at 440 Line 11 North. The lands are currently zoned agricultural rural in the township zoning bylaw and are designated agricultural in the township's official plan. The subject lands have a total lot area of approximately 0.45 hectares and are located on the west side of Line 11 North. The subject lands support a single detached dwelling and a detached accessory building. The surrounding land uses consist of scattered rural non-farm dwellings and agricultural uses. The image on the left shows the subject property that's outlined in red. The benefiting lands is located immediately to the south of the subject property. The image on the right shows the subject property with the notice sign posted in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. The applicant is requesting consent to sever and merge lands for the purposes of a boundary adjustment. So the lands to be severed from 440 Line 11 North would have a frontage of 48 meters and an area of approximately 0.2 hectares and is currently vacant and is to be merged with the lands to the south located at 422 Line 11 North. The lands to be retained would have a frontage of approximately 51 meters, an area of approximately 0.23 hectares, and will maintain the existing residential dwelling. The total merged lands, 422 Line 11 North, would have a frontage of approximately 99 meters, an area of approximately 0.4 hectares, and will be retained the residential use of the lands. The applicant provided a sketch along to support the consent application, which again shows the lands to be severed and merged with the benefiting lands, the lands to the south at 422 Line 11 North, and the ultimate size and shape of the retained lands at 440 Line 11 North. The image on the left of the screen shows the view of the retained lands from Line 11 North, which would contain the existing residential dwelling. The image on the right shows a view of the lands to be severed and merged at 442 Line 11 North. So it's approximately the location of the trampoline there, and going beyond the trampoline, and in the distance you can see the existing dwelling at 442 Line 11 North. The image on the left shows the view of the subject property as viewed from Line 11. So the street line would maintain the existing tree cover, and the benefiting lands or the lands to be enhanced as a result of the boundary adjustment is 442 line 11 north and shows the existing dwelling located on those lands. So, Mr. Chair, planning staff have reviewed the consent application with the provisions of the township's official plan, the development criteria outlined in the official plan, and in the context of the applicable policies of the province and the county's official plan, and are recommending approval of the boundary adjustments subject to the conditions outlined on the screen and contained in the staff report. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. I'll now ask the applicant, Shirley Guitar, who is registered to speak to the application, if she wishes to provide any comment or indicate if there's anything further to add to the staff presentation. Please step up and state your name.
Shirley Guitard, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Members of the committee, do you have any questions for Ms. Guitard? Okay, seeing none. Madam Deputy Clerk, anyone registered to speak to this matter?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Thank you very much. Anyone in chambers who wishes to speak to this matter? Seeing none. All right, any further communications on this matter during the course of the hearing?
Nothing further has been received, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Madam Deputy Clerk, may I have a motion for this consent?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Clark. It is recommended, one, that DS 2024-058, Andy Karaskakis, Manager, Planning Services, re-consent application 2024-B03 by Shirley Guitard, 440 line 11 north be received and adopted. 2, that consent application 2024-B03 to permit a boundary adjustment having a lot frontage of approximately 48.7 meters, 160.0 feet, a lot depth of approximately 47.7 meters, 150.0 feet, and an area of approximately 0.2 hectares, 0.5 acres to be added to the property municipally known as 422 line 11 north, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-058. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk. Any comments, questions with regard to the draft motion? Seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. This completes the application process and closes this hearing. The committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for your participation, and a copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comment or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. With that, we move on to application number 2024-B05. The applicant is Jennifer Jolie. The municipal address is 6210 line 5 north. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comment with respect to the consent application submitted by Jennifer Jolie on lands municipally known as 6210 line 5 north. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the consent application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Building Division, April 18, Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, dated April 22, Enbridge Gas, dated April 23, and County of Simcoe Planning Department, dated April 30, 2024.
Thank you very much. And I'll now turn the meeting over to Andy Karaskakis, Manager of Planning Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the consent application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Karaskakis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. consent application 2024-B05 has been applied for lands located at 6272 Line 5 North. The subject lands have a total lot area of approximately 36.5 hectares and are located on the southwest corner of Line 5 North and Vasey Road. The subject lands support a single detached dwelling and various accessory buildings. The subject property is zoned agricultural, rural, and environmental protection in the township zoning bylaw and are designated agricultural and green lands in the township's official plan. The applicants are requesting consent to sever and merge lands for the purpose of a boundary adjustment. The lands to be severed from 6272 Line 5 North would have a lot frontage of 26 meters and an area of approximately 0.8 hectares, and is to be merged with 6210 Line 5 North. So the total enhanced lands, the merged lands, which would be 6210 Line 5 North, would have a frontage of approximately 102 meters and an area of approximately just under 2 hectares, and would maintain the residential use of the property. The subject property is quite large. It has varying designations. There are some environmental features, and that's comprised of the Greenlands designation on the property, and is currently outlined in red on the aerial photo shown on the left side of the screen. The right side of the screen shows the sign posting in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. These are views looking north and south along Line 5 North in front of the subject property. So the image here on the screen shows the existing single detached dwelling that's located on the benefiting parcel. Long driveway which leads to the existing dwelling. So the images here show the lands to be severed from 6272 Line 5 North, which are to be merged with the property located at 6210 Line 5 North. So it's shown as open space, vacant lands, and the intended purpose is just to maintain it as is and to merge with 6210 Line 5 North for the purpose of a larger land holdings. The image on the screen here shows the existing entrance on the severed lands, which is located just north of the 6210 Line 5 North, and that's proposed to be removed by the applicant. The existing dwelling on the lands to be retained, which is proposed to be retained, and the image on the right shows the lands to be retained, large agricultural lands to be retained at 6272 Line 5 North. So planning staff have reviewed the consent application and are recommending approval, Mr. Chair, on the basis that the application is consistent and conforms with the provisions of the applicable policies, provincial policies, county policies, and are recommending approval of the application subject to the standard conditions outlined in the staff report and on the screen in front of you. So, Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions committee may have, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. Now I'll ask the applicant, Jennifer Jolie, who is registered to speak to the application, if she wishes to provide any comment or indicate if she has anything further to say with regard to the staff report. Ms. Jolie, please.
Thank you.
Please step forward and just bring that microphone down.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Jolly, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you very much. Members of the committee, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant? Seeing none. Madam Deputy Clerk, anyone else registered to speak to this matter?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Thank you very much. Anyone here in chambers who came to speak to this matter? Seeing no one here to speak to this matter. Planning staff, have we received any communication during the course of the hearing?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing additional has been received.
Thank you very much. Madam Deputy Clerk, might we hear the motion, please?
Moved by Greenlaw, seconded by Young. It is recommended that DS 2024-054, Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, reconsent application 2024-B05, Jennifer Jolly and Catherine French, 6272 Line 5 North, be received and adopted. 2, that consent application 2024-B05 to permit a boundary adjustment having a lot frontage of approximately 26.0 meters, 85.3 feet, a lot depth of approximately 195.0 meters, 639.8 feet, in an area of approximately 0.8 hectares, 2.03 acres, to be added to the property located at 6210 Line 5 North, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-054. 3, that the applicants be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk. Any comments on the draft motion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote, please. All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. This completes the application process and closes this hearing. The committee wishes to thank everyone for their participation, and a copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. With that, we move on to application number 2024-A13, Jeff Wilson and Kristen Vanden Heuvel, municipal address 504 Line 9 South. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the minor variance application submitted by Jeff Wilson and Kristen Vanden Heuvel on lands municipally known as 504 Line 9 South. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the minor variance application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been communication received on this matter?
Yes, correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, April 16, Building Division, dated April 18, Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, dated April 23rd, 2024.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Andy Karaskakis, Manager of Planning Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the minor variance application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Karaskakis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minor variance application 2024-A13 has been applied for lands located at 504 Line 9 South. Subject property has a lot area of approximately 9.2 hectares. It contains a single detached dwelling and detached accessory building. The property is zoned agricultural rural in accordance with the township zoning bylaw and is designated green lands and rural in accordance with the township's official plan. The image on the left shows an aerial photo of the subject property outlined in red. As noted earlier, it's located on the southwest corner of Line 9 South and Ridge Road East. It's predominantly heavily treed, and there's an existing dwelling located closer to the northeast corner of the property. The image on the right side of the screen shows a view of the subject lands as viewed from Line 9 South. You can see the existing driveway and the existing dwelling located in the center of the screen there. And there is an existing detached accessory building located behind the tree line with the white siding located closer to the left side of the screen, being noted in next few screens. So the applicants are proposing to construct a 222.2 square meter detached accessory building and are seeking relief to the following sections of zoning bylaw 9795 as amended. So an increase in height from 4.5 meters to 6.65 meters, and an increase in the maximum floor area of the detached accessory building of 100 square meters to a total of 2392 square feet, which again includes a first story floor area of the garage to be 117 square meters. And the second floor is to accommodate a floor area of approximately 104.2 square meters. The applicants have prepared a site plan and shown on the right side of the screen. So the area subject to the minor variance and the proposed detached accessory building is shown in that red circle area there. So it is located in front of the dwelling, between the dwelling and line 9 south, and it's to be located kind of behind the tree row of trees adjacent to line 9 south. Couple of architectural renderings of the proposed detached accessory building, which shows the ground floor there and the second floor area there and the proposed roof lines of the proposed building. The floor plans associated with the proposed detached building again shows the first floor of a 3-bay garage and the upper story, second floor, to be used for storage. The image on the left shows the existing dwelling on the right side of the screen off in the distance, and the existing detached building shown on the left side of that image there. And the image on the right shows the approximate location of the detached garage. So in between the existing detached building and the existing dwelling. A couple of images here show again the approximate location of the detached accessory building. So to be located kind of in that cleared area, which right now houses the machinery that's there. And the image on the right shows the view from the proposed location of the garage to the existing dwelling. So planning staff have reviewed the minor variance application in the context of the 4 tests of the minor variance, and are of the opinion that it meets the 4 tests of the variance, is appropriate and desirable for the development of the lot, and is in keeping and consistent with the provincial policies, county and township policies, and are recommending approval subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report and on the screen in front of you. So, Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karaskakis. I'll now ask the applicant, Jeff Wilson, who is registered to speak to the application if he wishes to provide any further comment, and adjust the microphone, or indicate if he has any further to be added to the staff presentation. If you could state your name, please, sir.
Jeff Wilson. Good afternoon. I just wanted to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Committee members, do you have any questions for Mr. Wilson? Seeing no questions. Madam Deputy Clerk, anyone else registered to speak to this matter?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
All right. Anyone in chambers who came to speak to this matter other than Mr. Wilson? Seeing no one. Any additional correspondence received during the course of the hearing?
Mr. Chair, no, nothing additional has been received.
Thank you very much. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we hear the motion, please?
Moved by Shaw, seconded by Bard. It is recommended one that DS 2024-062, Andy Karaskakis, Manager, Planning Services, Minor Variance Application 2024-A13, Jeff Wilson and Kristen Vandenhoevel, 504 Line 9 South, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024-A13, specifically for permission to build a detached accessory building with an increased height of 6.65 meters, 21.8 feet, and an increased floor area of 222.2 square meters, 2,392.0 square feet, on lands municipally known as 504 Line 9 South, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-062. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any comments on the draft motion? Seeing none. May I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much, and enjoy your accessory building. This completes the application process and closes this hearing. The committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for your participation. A copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comment during the hearing in regard to the application. Thank you very much. With that, we will move on to application 2024B04. The applicant is Craig Shelswell. The municipal address is 1787 Line 10 North. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the consent application submitted by Craig Shelswell on lands municipally known as 1787 Line 10 North. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the consent application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Building Division, April 18, Enbridge Gas, April 23rd, Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, April 23rd, and County of Simcoe Planning Department, April 25th, 2024.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to George Vadaboncourt, Manager Planning Special Projects, who will explain the purpose and effect of the consent application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Vadaboncourt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of committee. I'm going to be presenting consent application 2024-B04 and submitted by Brian and Heather Fleming. Mr. Sheswell is the agent for Mr. and Mrs. Fleming. The application deals with a lot line adjustment at 1787 Line 10 North, and the subject property has a lot area of 2.28 hectares, 5.64 acres, and contains a single detached dwelling. On the property exists a right-of-way over a laneway that leads to an approximately 7.8 hectare or 19.3 acre landlocked parcel immediately east of the property, and to the property to the northeast, 1793 Line 8 North. The property is zoned mineral aggregate and agriculture rural zone, and it's designated greenlands in the official plan, and the current use is residential. Next slide, please. So there is an existing right-of-way that services the two landlocked parcels at the rear. On the slide is the applicant's consent sketch that shows the right-of-way, and it shows the lands to be retained. On the left of the image are the details with respect to the severance, and it's basically a 3 meter or slightly under 10 foot wide severance that's approximately 150 meters in depth or 492 feet in length, and it basically will provide road frontage to the landlocked parcel immediately behind the retained lands. Next slide, please. So this image shows the parcel of land on the left, with the blue showing the right of way, the benefiting parcel in behind, and the other landlocked parcel is the property to the north of the retained lands, and you can see it there. The image to the right shows the public notice sign, and there's also an image identifying this as part of the Gananaskra trail system. So that was the image to the right. Next slide, please. So this is looking north on Line 10 North with the image on the left, and the image on the right is looking south on Line 10 North. Next slide, please. So the image on the left is the laneway from the road. You can see that there's a gate there, and it goes all the way down pretty straight to the end. And the image in the center is the laneway to be severed looking back to the road. And the image on the right is the access off the laneway to the Gananaskra Trail and the landlocked parcel. Next slide, please. So staff reviewed the severance application and are recommending that it be approved. In the report, it indicates that there were no comments received from the County of Simcoe. We did receive comments after the application was submitted, and they have no objection. This severance is for a boundary adjustment to create a deeded access to a landlocked parcel. It is considered to be a technical severance under the applicable provincial, county, and township policies, and therefore is deemed to conform to these policies. Approval is conditional on a number of standard conditions shown on this slide and the next one, and one special condition of note. The special condition requires the owner to provide an undertaking to the Secretary Treasurer that the existing right-of-way over the laneway for the benefit of the neighboring property at 1793 Line 8 North shall remain in place. That concludes my presentation, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee with regard to this? No? And I'll ask the agent, Craig Shelswell, if he would step forward and if he has anything to add to the presentation of staff.
Craig Shelswell, and no, I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Any else registered to speak to this matter, Madam Deputy Clerk?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Thank you very much. Anyone in the chambers who wishes to speak to this matter other than potentially Mr. Shelswell? Seeing none. Any further communications received during the course of the hearing?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing further has been received.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we hear the motion, please?
Moved by Young, seconded by Clark. It is recommended, one, that DS 2024-051, George Vadabankur, Manager Planning Special Projects, Reconsent Application 2024-B04, Brian and Heather Fleming, 1787 Line 10 North, be received and adopted. Two, that consent application 2024-B04 to permit a boundary adjustment having a lot frontage of approximately 3.0 meters, 9.84 feet, a depth of approximately 150.0 meters, 492.1 feet, and an area of approximately 0.045 hectares, 0.11 acres to be added to the property described as Part Lot 9, Concession 11, West, Roll number 4346-010-004-17300 be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-051. 3, that the applicants be advised of the committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Could you roll back one slide, please? In 3B, is that truly the property at 1793 Line 8 North? Or Line 10 North?
Mr. Chair, that would be Line 10 North.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure the lawyers would draw that up appropriately. Any comments on the draft motion? Seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. This completes the application process and closes this hearing. The committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for their participation. A copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. With that, that closes this portion of the agenda with regard to public hearings. We now move on to the reports of municipal officers with regard to item 7A. May we have a motion for that, please, Madam Deputy Clerk?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Greenlaw. It is recommended, one, that DS 2024-055, Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, Reminder Variance Application 2024-A01, Susan Crichton and Jeffrey Moulton, 360 Ingram Road, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024-A01, specifically for permission to build a detached accessory building with an increased height of 8.4 meters, 27.6 feet, increased floor area of 258.6 square meters, 2,784.0 square feet, and containing an apartment dwelling with an increased floor area of 258.6 square meters, 2,784.0 square feet on lands municipally known as 360 Ingram Road, Township of Oro-Medonte be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-055. 3, that the applicant be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. The members of the committee, the floor is open for discussion. Are there any questions or comments regarding the report or with respect to the draft motion? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Madam Deputy Clerk, may we have a motion for item 7B, please?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Hutchison. It is recommended 1, that DS 2024-061, Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, minor variance application 2024-A07, Garrett Hookey, concession to EPR Part Lot 17, reference Plan 51R 41484 Part 1 Oro, be received and adopted. 2, that minor variance application 2024-A07, specifically for permission to build a single detached dwelling with a reduced setback of 20.0 meters, 65.6 feet from the top of bank of the watercourse, and build a detached accessory building with an increased height of 4.9 meters, 16.0 feet, and an increased floor area of 185.8 square meters, 2,000.0 square feet, on lands legally described as Concession 2, EPR Part Lot 17, reference Plan 51R 41484 Part 1 Oro, Township of Oro-Medonte be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2024-061. 3, that the applicant be advised of the committee's decision under the Secretary Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk. Members of the committee, the floor is now open for discussion. If there's any questions regarding the report or the draft motion, any such questions or comment? Okay, seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. With that, we move on to item 7C. May we have the motion, please, Madam Deputy Clerk?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Shell. It is recommended 1, that DS 2024-049, George Fetabancourt, Manager Planning, Special Projects, Rezoning Bylaw Amendment Application 2024-ZBA01, applying to lands located in Part Lots 41 and 42, Concession 1, EPR Medonte, Township of Oro-Medonte, be received and adopted. 2, that zoning bylaw amendment application 2024-ZBA01, which amends the Residential 1 Exception 301, R1 301, and Residential 2 Exception 343, R2 343 zones to permit the following be approved. A, Section 5.9, permit a 1.5 meter, 4.9 feet encroachment into the required front and rear yards. B, Section 5.20.2.3, permit a 1.2 meter, 3.9 feet interior side yard setback for driveways accessing a single detached or semi-detached dwelling. And A and C, Section 5.20.2.4, permit a driveway located within 10.5 meters, 34.4 feet, at the intersection of the front lot line and an exterior side lot line on a corner lot. 3, that the street names Ambassador Avenue, Private McKay Drive, Private McKay Drive, Sinton Way, Red Wing Crescent, Midnight Way, Blue Nose Lane, Northland Court, and Capitol Court be assigned to the Craighurst Crossing subdivision. 4, that the appropriate staff bring forth the bylaws for council's consideration. And 5, that the applicant be advised of the decision under the Director of Development Services signature.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk. Well read. Members of the committee, the floor is open for discussion. Are there any questions or comments in regard to the draft motion or with respect to the report? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. That deals with all of the business of today's Development Services Committee meeting. The next meeting date is June 5th, 2024. And may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Moved by Greenlaw, seconded by Bard. It is recommended that we do now adjourn at 7:35 p.m.
Any questions with regard to the motion? No, seeing none. May I call the vote, please? The motion is carried. Thank you, everyone, and I now pass the chair over to Mayor Greenlaw for the council meeting following the Development Services Committee meeting.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. I'd like to call this meeting to order. May we have a motion to adopt the agenda, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Shaw, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that the agenda for the council meeting of Wednesday, May 1st, 2024 be received and adopted.
All in favor? That is carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest at this time? Seeing none, may we please have a motion, the draft minutes of the previous council meeting, please, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that the draft minutes of the council meeting held on Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024 be received and adopted as printed and circulated.
Are there any changes anyone wants to make? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. May we please have a motion to approve the recommendations of tonight's DSC meeting, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Young, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that the recommendations of the Development Services Committee meeting held on Wednesday, May 1st, 2024 be adopted.
All in favor? That is carried. May we please have a motion for the bylaw, please, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-046 be read a first, second, and third time, passed, be engrossed by the Deputy Clerk, signed and sealed by the Mayor.
Any questions regarding the draft bylaw? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. May we please have a motion for the confirmation bylaw, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Shall. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-047, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on Wednesday, May 1st, 2024, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, be engrossed by the Deputy Clerk, signed and sealed by the Mayor.
All in favor? That is carried. May we have a motion to adjourn, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 7:37 p.m.
All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great evening.